Hello, welcome back. I'm Miniature Mike. If you haven't checked out my other videos yet, I just recently released one about Galaxy at War. That's the one I just released. So I have a fun set, continuing Clone Wars stuff, and then we're kind of moving into some of the last sets. So this next one that we're going to do tier list for is Dark Times. Really fun. Kind of reminds me a little bit of an updated version of the Bounty Hunter set in some way. Um, with a lot of the standard bounty hunters getting upgrades, which are really good ones too. And it's the second to last set, which is crazy that we've already gone through all of these just about. So um, anyway, without further ado, let's jump right on into it. So going into it, the first character we have is Emperor's Hand. Pretty nice character. Um, Great stats, very cheap cost. Great with the melee. When you have the Emperor with you, you can help out a lot with different things. They're really just kind of, I don't know, sort of like Jedi Hunter type people. They remind me a lot of Shadow Guards. I like Shadow Guards more, though. I really kind of do. I wish these had a bodyguard or some way that they could really complement the Emperor. Unfortunately, I'm not crazy about them. I'm going to put them in B tier. Don't get me wrong. Great stats. Um, they can go knockdown. They can be good against melee characters for sure. But they may struggle against other situations, and they don't make me super excited, but they are good. Right combination, they'll be fantastic. Don't get me wrong. Um, Jedi Watchmen, I think these guys are pretty solid. We're not at them yet. Let's see, where are they? It's gonna be the next set. So for Jedi Watchmen, pretty cool overall. So they have good things going for them. 24 points. Very nice stats here all the way around. You get the melee double cloaked, duelist. So these guys are excellent. I'd say excellent when it comes to dealing with melee people. They can sneak in, they can jump on them without having to get shot or get hurt or anything like that. And that's really what their specialist is. So I'm gonna stick them in A tier. Awesome pieces for that reason. Moving on to, it's funny, I put them in B tier originally. These are A tier for sure. Elite Sith Assassin. I think these guys are honestly kind of scary. With some things you have similar hit points or similar stats to the last guy we just looked at. You have Cunning Attack against Stealth. Steel Force can be a pretty nice complementary power, kind of like having a Darth Nihilus, but for cheaper. I don't really care too much about Sith Rage, so I think where I see these guys is they can sneak around, you can leverage their Cunning Attack to get some nice hits in, but I really like the Steel Force power, really cool. So let's see, where did I originally put these guys on my other video, or my pre-ranking that I put together? I think I probably stuck on, yeah, I think that sounds right. I will put them in B tier just because that's kind of really what they're for, is just to steal the Force. And that is really good, but they have to get next to the enemy, but they are cheap, so I do like that a lot. Yeah, I'm going to put them in high B tier, and that's not saying that they're bad or anything like that. Pretty cool. I like them what they're for, but again, there's a lot of power creep with some of these sets, so I need to try to balance it out a little bit. ARF Trooper, like I've put in the other one, these guys are A tier. Being able to have squad cover and recon and stealth all for 11 points. Why would you use any other clone trooper? Asharid Het, really nice with Tuscans. So for 32, his stats are not actually they're pretty good even for 32. Maybe a little bit low defense, but that gets fixed pretty quick because he's got Nimin style, Twins nice, Renewal's nice. This guy's good in situations where he's trying to deflect lots of gun people. Repulse is cool, and then the commander effect's kind of fun. You can make Tuscan Raiders quite wild, pretty scary. You can give Tuscans more attack, which they need, and they gain evade, which is very helpful for them too. So I could see a fun pairing where you kind of put this guy with Tuscans, bring in some other fun commander effects, other cool things, yeah, I think you got some fun things brewing there. So really cool. I think this guy's awesome. He's a really rare hard character to find. So Asharid Het right here. I'm gonna put him. Right here in A tier. I think these guys kind of what they do really scary. But Ashard Het, super fun character. 501st Legion Commander. I think these guys are awesome. For 15 points, they got great stats. They got twin attack, great commander. And then basically followers whose names contain 501st, they get 10 damage against enemies with the force rating. So that is really specific, unfortunately. It's not just kind of a general kind of blanket power you'll always have. But it makes the situation when you have the setup very good against Jedi, essentially. Very strong. And they're so cheap. Wow, they're so cheap for how much they cost. So I really like these guys. I'm going to put them at the very top of B tier. The only reason for that is their commander effect is very particular. And having twins is nice, but they don't have any other interesting, flavorful special abilities. I mean, twin attack just covers up the fact that they do 10 damage instead of 20. So I'll leave it at that. But they're very nice, very nice. 501st Legion Clone Trooper, kind of fun. They're the same as normal Clone Troopers, but cheaper. Slightly different balance here, but just +1, -1, and then they get Swat Assault. So by default, you really don't need to be using regular Clone Troopers by this time anymore. And 501st Legion Clone Troopers is, I'd say, a much better thing to use. So I'm going to stick these guys in B tier. I'm going to put them low B tier. Original Clone Troopers are in C tier. But these are they're just better. They're cheaper. A nice low-cost unit. Kruk Jedi Master. Interesting thing here. So this set, we have a lot of weird indiscriminate powers. For 33, pretty solid stuff all around. He kind of has lower defense and attack, frankly, for a melee piece with 33, but he's got impulsive advance, so if an ally character is defeated, this guy can move around. You won't see that too much, but it could be handy. He has renewal, he's got leap. Indiscriminate rage could be good, but you gotta be really careful, or else he'll wind up with savage, which is kind of unfortunate. And then deflect is nice. I think this guy's all right. I don't think he's like, I think I put him in A tier. I don't think he exactly belongs in A tier, in my opinion. Impulsive powers, you can't exactly rely on them, to be honest. And then Indiscriminate Rage could be really nice, but it's only +10 damage and extra to attack. And if you miss the save of 11, then get Savage. So maybe it's kind of an emergency type of a thing to use. So I think he's pretty good. I will put him at the very, very top of B tier. Cool character, lots of interesting things going on, but I might actually stick him in A tier when all is said and done. Miru, personally, I think Miru is S tier. For 38, you have great, survival. He's a tank, great defense. The attack's and all that awesome, but the whole point with Wookiees, he's great. Great in the melee. Mighty Swing comes in handy, and then his commander effect is awesome. So your squad can include Wookiees of any faction. That's amazing. Allied Wookiees, they gain close quarters fighting, which helps Wookiees a lot. Demolish, which is nice to throw in there, and then Mighty Swing, which is again great for Wookiees. So I think when you do Wookiee squads, I could see him with Clone Commander Gree, and other situations where you're putting Wookiees together. I've been against squads before where you have Miru, and then you have Old Republic, elite Wookiee warriors and whatever, and you're basically toast at that point. you're so toast. Awesome character. Jedi Hunter Droid, not bad. Solid stats, and then he's got Twin and Jedi Hunter and Lightsaber Resistance. So this guy's obviously the whole point. Go take out those Jedi. And since he's on Separatists, easy to buff him up to. I think they're pretty good. Definitely not bad at all. I think I originally tiered these guys probably in the high B tier. So the thing with them is, they are very much geared towards attacking one Jedi, and they're great at that. 14 attack, 30 plus 30 damage twice. That's really good against Jedi. But I think they may cost a lot just to do that, to be honest with you. So I think what I'll do, I'll bump this guy up. I will get I would prefer the Jedi Hunter Droid maybe over these guys. But they have Steel Force, so I kind of like that. I'm going to put them right there. Yeah. I still think they're pretty good. However, even for the Separatists, this can be a good cheaper option instead of using General Grievous Jedi Hunter and stuff. But pretty cool. The last Chewbacca of the whole series. This is a really weird one. Pretty cool. He's really cheap for having all this stuff thrown on, which is kind of cool. But the thing with him is, so he gets more attack against. So he's good against being anti-flight. Excuse me. breath mask, I guess, is interesting. It can come up, I guess, and then stable footing's helpful, and then stealth's nice. So kind of interesting powers, a little bit more unique, I guess. But you gotta admit, for 23 points, this is all pretty good stuff. He can be nice at kind of sniping people who have flight. I'm not sure where I want to put him either. For 23 points, but the thing with him that is missing is you just get a shot for 20 damage. You can't do anything better than that. And a lot of people, even at this level, they have ways of multiplying their damage a lot more. So this guy's just kind of, he's there. He can get 13 attack against people with flight. Otherwise, his attack is kind of leaves a little bit to be desired. Still fine, but I think he can do some cool things, but I will put him down here in B tier. I like him more than this guy. These guys, they just, I don't know. They're not my favorite, but they can be cool. Das Jenner, great. So 32, solid stuff. I love how he has a gun, so he can be a little bit ranged. He's got double attack, can be in Republic, which is fun. Force renewal, Jedi Mind Trick's a nice thing to have to make people lose their activations. Leap's nice to throw in there if you want to, avoid those attacks of opportunities. Dispassionate Killer's a fun one. So you basically you get a lot of attack, a lot of damage until the end of your turn, and at the end of the turn, if you miss the save of 11, then you just die. So what I see this as I see it as like a kind of a last gasp attack. So you're about to die, you're in a bad situation, or you need to roll the dice and gamble. This could be a really nice tool to, 50-50, just wreck somebody, and then maybe you die too. I think that's really good. If you were to remove Dispassionate Killer, I think 32 is actually still pretty fair, to be honest, with what he does. So I think he's great. I think he's pretty solid. Man, do I want to put him in A tier? I really don't know at this point. These guys are all so interesting. I'll put him bottom of A tier. I think that's pretty sweet. I'll even put him above this guy. I think that's pretty cool combinations. Ferris Olin, for 27, you get a guy who's totally melee. Pretty solid stats. Really solid stats, actually. Having Jedi Bodyguard, it's kind of cool. It's nice that he has a lot of hit points for Bodyguard. That's good. And then he can do a lot of stuff himself. So he's just a really, really nice melee guy. Really nice melee guy. He's got precision. He's got block. Dark Temptation. Yikes, this is another scary one that you maybe want to do. If you want to use it, maybe do it at the when he's about to die, potentially, so he can really just do lots of damage. Which one do I prefer? I think I might prefer him to the other character that we just reviewed, Das Jenner. Yeah, because with this one, I like how tanky he is. He's great with melee stuff, and so this could be a good secondary Jedi to bodyguard maybe a better Jedi. And, he takes the damage, he's about to die, can blast them, and if he's going to join the other person's squad, you'd rather do it when he's almost dead. So, but you got to be careful, because then the enemy could use Dispassionate, could use Dark Temptation and blow you up. So, let's see here. Is it this guy? Man, I'm not used to these. These are characters I actually don't have too many of. I do like him a lot, so I'm going to stick him, I'm going to organize it like that. I do like that a lot. Jax Pavin, this is one of the other Jedi on the run from these legacy timelines. Pretty cool, because he only has one attack. He has metal, so you can use that if you need to, and then he can deflect. So for 16 points, you get a person who can shoot just 10, that's it, with, for pretty decent. So he's cheap, great stats, and he doesn't do much, really, besides kind of shoot. So for that reason, I'm going to put him in B tier. I don't like him as much as the other characters, but I think he's kind of fun. Definitely great stats for a 16, obviously, but we'll leave him there. Coda's Elite Militia. Not bad. For 14, they can cost less with Coda. They can benefit from Coda's Commander Effect. They can have grenades, 10, which is fine, I guess. I don't necessarily love these guys a lot. I know this is for 14. This is all pretty good. That's really high defense. And it can be even cheaper with Coda with 20 defense, 12 attack. So if we pair him with him, obviously these guys can be good. This is the only reason I'd use them, is if you use that guy. So with that in mind, I'm going to stick this Coda's Elite Militia. Let's see, where are we? I'm going to put them right up here, just behind these guys. To work, they have to be with Coda. And if they are with Coda, then yeah, you can make arguments for A tier. But there is that restraint. They're not that they aren't flexible enough to not be with Coda, unfortunately. So that is a consideration in putting them in B tier. Coda's Militia, so the regular Militia. So for 9 points, you get a cheaper character with all the same stuff. I prefer the Elite Militia. It's just a little bit more, but you have more, just more of everything, and I think it's worth it to pay a little bit more for much better stats. So for that reason, I will bump these guys down. They'll be the first C tier. Again, for 9 points, you're getting a pretty solid character, don't get me wrong. With Coda, they only work with Coda, so that's something you have to keep in mind. Let's see here. I'll put them in C tier. But again, with Coda, talking something different. But again, because you have to have those conditions met, they're going to be a little bit lower. If I vote for Stormtrooper, what these guys are is they are elite Stormtroopers, but they have squad, report, and they have a lot of stuff, which is really good stuff. So when you have a lot of these guys, they can be cheaper with Vader. Vader, if you give him with the right Vader, Vader can give him lots of defense, some other stuff. There's actually a lot of different Vaders that can help these guys in different ways. I prefer Imperial Commander. So you can have lots of damage, lots of attack. I think these guys are pretty sweet. So I'm going to stick them up here. I like them even more than Coda's Militia, to be honest with you, because it's a very natural pairing. You put them with Darth Vader, Imperial Commander, and they're very strong. So I'm going to put them kind of high B tier. Again, you need to put them with Vader to get that extra cost reduction. But even without Vader, you're looking at a fantastic piece anyways. So I might even bump these guys even higher. Yeah. Imperial Engineer, pretty cool. These remind me of Star Wars Battlefront 2. That's really what they are. So for 9 points, you're not going to be attacking and doing this type of stuff too much. I love how they have blast or satchel charge, and then they do have blast cannon and splash. So for kind of close-in shots, they can kind of shotgun people, which is pretty helpful, pretty nice. Even for a 9-point piece, that's pretty good. I'm a fan of these. I'm definitely going to stick them up in for only 9 points and to really do a lot of guaranteed damage. To feel better about all this, I'm going to bump this guy up to A tier. I might bump him back down here in a second, but I'm going to put the Imperial Engineer just below. I will bump it back down. This is a good spot. So for the Imperial Engineer to be effective, they have to be close quarters, or really effective. They got big close quarters, and they have satchel charge, so you can go around blowing stuff up. So I will put these above the Stormtroopers. I just like these guys too much for how cheap they are to bump them to have them jump them. But these guys are great. These guys are actually pretty great. So I'd include one of them in your squad, but they're really, if you don't want to use an Ugnaught, if you want to use something that can be an Ugnaught Demolitionist and do a little bit of damage, these are good guys. So I'm kind of tempted to put them here, though. I really like how cheap they are with those powers. I'll just do it. Inquisitors, pretty nice. So a few things here. They cost a fair amount. They have some interesting force powers, which you probably won't use too much. You'll probably focus on this one. And the command effect's nice. Basically, just allies that have a force rating, they're better against people without a force rating. So if you're against a team that doesn't have too many force rating people, this is great. And then the cool thing as well is if you're against people with a force rating, then you can choose to do damage to them, and then if they want, they can try to avoid it. And if they do a bad job at avoiding it, that'll help you. So kind of where I see these things, they're not that great against. If you use them in the wrong situation, they're not all that awesome, but they're pretty cool. I will put them in B tier though, because I think, against really, okay, just in general, they're actually kind of flexible. They can be great against force users, and they can also be useful without force users too. So this is kind of, if there's no force users, this can be kind of a backup, and then you can use the force powers. So I do like that flexibility quite a bit, which for me is going to bump up just above these guys. Imperial Sovereign Protector, I'm a big fan. I'm going to put these guys up in A tier right there, maybe even higher. For 25 points, you get a ton of hit points, great defense, great attack. They can hold their own. They have bodyguard. And Force Sense is interesting, so they're not having like block or anything like that. but to be able to be Palpatine's bodyguard, very handy. Sometimes Palpatine's can be squishy, and they can use his Force powers to, use Force sense for whatever you like. It's a nice power to have when you have yourself set up. But, geez, I just like these guys a lot. I think they're really good for how cheap they are. Kir Kanos, he's basically the leader of these dudes. So essentially, he's just a more expensive, he's just a more expensive dude. So a little bit better stats, all the same stuff as basically all the same stuff as these guys, but they have twin. It is a little weird how they have Palpatine's bodyguard and loner, so it's both counterintuitive and flexible. If you're using him as a bodyguard, it's a bummer to miss out on this, but if you want him on his own, he can hold his own and do some good stuff. And he also has Force sense as well. So for my take with this guy, I am going to stick him kind of high B tier because this is all really good, and he can be just devastating with those really high attack if he's on his own, because it's going to be fantastic. But if you want someone to use Palpatine's bodyguard, I'd honestly rather just have someone who costs almost 10 points cheaper and has pretty much the same amount of hit points. That's the way I'm looking at it, but still, Kir Kanos, really cool looking mini, pretty good. Major Maximilian Veers, I'm a big fan of this guy. And we have some cool things going on here with him. So he can, for 12 points, he can hold his own, and I love that he has Crack Gunner. And then being able to make a non-unique fall defense 6 squares. If it misses an attack, it can move. It's kind of like a mobile attack to kind of move yourself around. You can jump out, shoot. If you hit, great. If you miss, you can be covered. Crack Gunner, really nice. Probably one of the best gunner powers in the entire game, in my opinion. So you can kind of guarantee damage will land, won't get blocked, won't get deflected. I like him. For that reason, he is restricted to those types of squads, so he's not that flexible, but when you use him appropriately, I think he's awesome. Very awesome. So for that reason, I'm still going to stick him in A tier, because when you put him in the correct squad, I'm going to put him down here though. But yeah, you have to put him in the correct squad, and when you do, he's going to be excellent, especially if you use Crack Gunner to your advantage. So I'll put him just at the very bottom of A tier. Bomo Greenbark, so now we're into the fringe characters. So for 18, let's see here, we're over halfway. Yeah, we're making okay time. Interesting, so this has got a lot of impulsive powers here. If a unique ally character is defeated for the remainder of the skirmish, this guy gets much better stats. So the thing with him that's cool, like stealth, like twin, before he gets impulsive reprisal, he kind of stinks. He does. But once a unique character dies, then it's much better. So the problem with these impulsive powers is, if the other unique character is good enough, you'll probably still want to kill him anyway. But if not, then enemies can find ways to strategize around letting this activate. So maybe this guy, he may potentially take some damage before he gets to use it. But if you keep him back, the situation falls out and it's right. I think it can be pretty solid, kind of. However, at the end of the day, I think he's still a B tier. I do like that he's 18, and that when this does activate, it's a pretty solid piece. I'm going to put him very low, though, down there. Yeah, Bomo Greenbark, I'll put you down here in the bottom, very bottom of B tier. Pretty cool when he all is coming together. Bosk Trandoshan Hunter, he, in my opinion, goes possibly to S tier, but definitely top of A tier. So, much better than Bosk Bounty Hunter, mostly because of the hit point boost. Great stats all around. He's got Bounty Hunter, so great against those uniques. Double Claw Attack, and Rend 20, and Regeneration 10. They're all going to go together really well because he has enough hit points to be able to be in a position to use all this stuff. The other Bosks, they are not. So if you are, melee with a unique character, you're going to kind of guarantee basically getting that 20 damage, or that plus 20, going to be really powerful. Stun Mortar is nice. I do like those powers that can activate people. However, I'd almost rather just have him attack. Maybe if he's in a position where attacking, he's not going to be able to use all this stuff. Maybe you move up to an enemy, you activate them, and then next turn you can use all your powers. I think he's awesome. I may put him in S tier in a second, but for 30 points, oh boy. Geez, I might just have to stick him in here. He's so good. Bausch Ubi's Hunter. So the thing with Bausch is solid stats, but really all they have going for them is just being able to shoot, which is better than the other Bausch, And you have grenades 40. That's the best grenades in the entire game. I guess showing a thermal detonator in Return of the Jedi is enough to be the best grenadier in this game. Go figure. I still think Vouch is pretty good though overall. I'm gonna put Vouch as the very top B character, and the only reason for that is, actually I'll stick Vouch down here. Yeah, I'll still keep him down though. I think about the nice thing about that really saves her is having that grenades 40. Imagine putting her with Captain Tarples. It's gonna go really well, really really well. So I'll put him in A tier. Um, such a nice, just yeah. Don't worry about these too much. Leverage that grenade's power, and it's one of the best ones in the game. So I'll have to stick it right there. Dengar hired killer, pretty good. Much better than the other Dengar. Got more hit points, got more attack. I think more attack at least. But I do like final shot. Basically, it's just you find anyone who's got 50 or less hit points, you kill them. That's all there is to it. You are missing, accurate shot, sniper, or ways of kind of choosing who you want to hit better, but you can't ask for much more than that. So basically, as a result, I think this Dengar is pretty awesome. You're still paying 31 points for just a shot. It's a great shot though. So I kind of miss. I don't know. It is better. Some ways I do kind of miss, like deadly attack, that kind of stuff. But at the end of the day, final shot's probably as best as you're gonna get. So I'll put Dengar above these characters, and leave it right there. Pretty cool. Forlom Droid Mercenary. So I don't know if it's a hot take, but this is the only instance where I like Forlom Bounty Hunter more than Droid Mercenary, and it's mostly just because of the shoot, I forgot it. His the power where if he hits his enemy, they're activated potentially, which I think is awesome. This guy does have stun gas, but it's only for adjacent people. And then he can it's more like a defensive, like, hey, I got to get out of here quick if I'm in a bad position. However, you have to replace the attacks to make it worth it. You want other people nearby to be able to cover if that situation arises. Rapport with Succus is always good. Having Careful Ant Bounty Hunter. So for 35 points, still pretty great. Lots of damage, lots of hit points. You'll be able to, if you're standing still, you'll be able to hit your shots. But that's kind of all he has. I would prefer to have the person I shoot be activated rather than having to use an activation to do that. So as a result, I will put him in B tier. Not my favorite Forlom. I think he's my least favorite Forlom. Still pretty good though. So definitely do not get me wrong. I will put him right here. I think that sounds just fine. Gungan Bounty Hunter. How do I feel about these? I mean, for 9 points, you are getting a character with lots of hit points, solid defense, but just they only do 10 damage. They won't hit too many people. But if it's a unique character, I guess they'll do 10 damage. Of course, with lots of commander effects, you can make these guys pretty cool. But for what they bring to the table themselves and minimally, I'm gonna have to put them bottom of C tier. I'm not a huge fan. Human Engineer, pretty cool. The thing with these people is I do like a couple of their combinations. So they have 13. They do have Satchel Charge. That's pretty nice. Although I may prefer someone that's cheaper with Satchel Charge, but it is cool to have. And they have Industrial Repair 20, but Repair 20. I wish they had 2020. They don't. As a result, I'm not as big of a fan of using them. Industrial Repair 20 is great, but there are other characters I'd rather use that have Industrial Repair 20 than them. As a result, I'll put them top of C tier just because Satchel Charge is great. I'd rather have cheaper people do it though, even like this guy or Ignat Demolitionists. And then Industrial Repair 20, don't get me wrong, that is good to have. Repair 10, not a fan of Repair 10. Get better repairs if you can. But overall, again, if you're using mounted weapon people, this can be pretty good. So when you're using them with them, more of like be your A tier, but just in general, not very flexible. IG-88 Assassin Droid. I am a huge fan of this character for a few reasons. I'm going to put him in S tier, personally. I'm going to put him just below Miru Miru. I'm just very biased towards Miru Miru. I think his potential with other Wookiees is out of the world, so that's why I have to put him there, and that's what he's for. But for IG-88, he is the best one. He's got 40 more hit points than the last one. Solid defense, and he replaced some of that attack to have better bounty hunter, which it's an okay trade-off. I do really like using this guy with General Grievous Droid Army Commander. He becomes so scary. And so you have a solid double attack, you have solid bounty hunter, opportunist, very nice, so this guy can really do a lot of damage. And then Pulse Cannon 40 is really awesome. It's a replaces attacks, and you just blast people, and you will guarantee 10 damage. And I think that's amazing. So again, enemies, they could work around it, but if you have the situation, just use Pulse Cannon. I think it's a fantastic power. Yeah, again, Captain Tarpals makes all that stuff kind of broken, but Rhodium Brute. So these guys are really interesting for a few reasons. They only cost 3, and they're significantly better than other melee people who cost 3. They're not slow by difficult terrain, so they could get to people faster. Again, if you mix these with the what were they? So many characters. Thorian Commanders, you're looking at plus 8 and 20 damage for 3 points. Pretty good. So on their own, I think I will put them in B tier, probably just above. I'll put them at the bottom of B tier. But I do like that they have, you know, decent stats for being a melee 3. That's really nice. So definitely with some things, some combinations, they can be pretty cool. Rhodian Raider. Not as big a fan of these. So they cost 10. It's pretty good. But they have a little lower attack, 10 damage, and then they have triple. I guess it's okay to have, but these guys will have a triple attack where they're not really going to be hitting much, unfortunately. But it's cool if they have it. It's good potential, I guess. So these guys, they don't really make me so crazy excited. That's just kind of the way I see it. So I will put these down here, though. I think I like Coda's Militia a little bit more, especially with the fact that he's meant to be with Coda. Tal's Chieftain, pretty interesting. So non-unique fringe followers within 6 squares. Basically, you get more attack and damage in most situations. Pretty good in general for 16 points. They're good commanders for the fringe to have. Pretty cool. So the Chieftain is this guy. I'm going to stick this guy. Great, really good commander effect, kind of underrated commander effect. I'm going to put him right here, kind of middle of B tier. I can see these guys being pretty helpful. Yeah, very helpful, especially against those non-unique people. They will make themselves a target, and they're not bad in the melee situations. They got enough attack to be able to strike back, so I may move these guys up even more based on everything I'm seeing. Tal's Warrior. So for 7 points, again, they only have 10 damage, and there's things you can do to make that really good on certain teams. Pretty good, though. For 7 points, they have double. They got advantageous, and they can easily get this improved with this guy's help. So as a result, these guys, they got to be up in B tier. I'm going to put them low. I'm going to put them kind of a little lower B tier, but I think that's just fine. Again, I do like how they are pretty cheap and they have double. They got advantageous. So if they can get next to someone and not be dead, that's pretty nice. Togorian Soldier. Very interesting character. So they are large bases, so they're kind of harder to maneuver. I do like this power right here. So if they're kind of going up against people that are better than they are, then they're better. And that's going to happen in most situations. You know, if these guys don't cost that much. Although I don't think they're terribly hard to kill either because they are bigger targets. So as a result, pretty interesting. But I will ultimately drop these guys down in C tier. They do have those large bases, which makes them more finicky to get around. But and Bravado only works for adjacent people. So if you're not adjacent, you might get shot down before even getting to use this. Elite Trandos and Mercenary. So now we're talking. I don't like Trandos and Mercenaries because they don't have enough hit points to really get to use any of their powers. These guys, they're basically just Bosks, but cheaper. Yeah, this is like literally just Bosk Bounty Hunter, but way cheaper. So, but you have Mercenary. So the problem with Mercenary is it might make it again, so you don't get to use these powers. But for 17 points, you got solid stats. You have Ren 10, Regeneration 10, and Mighty Swing, and Double Claw Attack. So you kind of get so many things working together. Yeah, so if you work them out right, if you can go from your starting space to adjacent enemies, you're going to be able to do so much work. And they are balanced by having a little lower attacks. Maybe they won't hit everything with all of this stuff, but I like they have enough hit points, enough stuff to make all these powers worthwhile. For that purpose, I will put them in B tier. They still, because they have mercenary, they may still struggle being still getting to use these things, but at least they have a shot, whereas before they really didn't. Because I think those other guys, I put them in C tier. They're not that great, but these ones are more interesting. I'm gonna put them a little bit higher actually. Kind of like what I got from them. Tyriani Scout. Okay, so quick reactions. You may or may not get to use it. Flurry attack is fine. Evade's kind of cool. So I think you have some underrated things going on here. For 14, solid stats. Little lower attack kind of. But quick reactions, really nice if people want to try it on you. They probably won't because they can see the consequence. They will not do attack opportunities on you. But having evade's pretty cool. So I think that's decent. I'm going to put them bottom of B tier. Again, if you put these guys with like the right commanders, you can make them incredible. But for what they provide on their own and with just kind of minimal, just trying to factor that in and not get too far into the weeds, I think that low B tier, I'll put them right here in B tier. Very solid. The Sir, I'm not crazy about these. So there's a few things. They are cheap, but they have melee, and they have 30 damage, but they only have 2 attack. And it may be kind of hard to improve this attack, honestly. It kind of feels like it is. But I do like that they do 30. But personally, I'm not a fan of these. I'm really not. Because they're easy targets. You can kill them easily, and even if they do jump on you, they're not going to hit you. So they're not too scary. Zucka's Bounty Hunter. This guy can go, I think, in low S tier. I think with Zuckus Bounty Hunter is you have a lot of the stuff from the old Zuckus carried into him, but even more. So you have much better stats. The attack actually is a little low, but that is good to balance him out this way. And again, I'd prefer this Zuckus with the Forlom Bounty Hunter. So I do like Snare Rifle, I do like Intuition, Bounty Hunter, and Accurate. All those go together awesome to be able to kind of control the movement of your enemy and to be able to do some damage on them. They also have Anticipation, which is kind of helpful. It's funny how he has Force Powers, and he has Force Sense. So fantastic Force Powers if you're going to throw on this Bounty Hunter. I'm going to stick him probably just above Bosk. No, yeah, I really like the combination of Accurate, Intuition, Snare Rifle, and Anticipation. Deadly, very deadly. Last character, Mandalorian Jedi Hunter. These guys are pretty good. They're really good at that. They're really good at what they are for. That's all I can say. So we have solid stats. They have stealth, which will be good. They have parry, so they're gonna be hard to take down by melee, which is most likely what they'll meet, especially since they have stealth. And then they do have Twin and Jedi Hunter, so you get plus 12 and 30 for 2 attacks, and you can move and do that. So, however, for 24 points, it feels like characters at this point that I don't even know if that's quite good. No, it's good enough. I will put these guys in B tier, though, right above Tal's Chieftain. Actually, all these guys right here are all kind of the same. I really like his Stealing Force Power, although he doesn't do more damage. I do like that. This guy's pretty deadly, even for a droid. He has better stats, too, and he might even be cheaper. I'm going to put him right below. Yeah, when it comes to all these different Jedi Hunters, I think I like him the most. This is in a close second. And these guys are really good. Parry's nice, don't get me wrong. It's just with 60 hit points, you might get taken out a little quick. Possibly. So anyways, that wraps up Dark Times. Great set. I really, really like the respins on the Bounty Hunters. I think they do a good job of kind of taking what they intended in the Bounty Hunter set with these classic Empire Strikes Back characters and really making them just amazing and awesome. Like I said, I do like what they're going for in Bounty Hunter with like Bosk and Zuckuss and IG-88. It just feels like their hit points were so low that you may not be able to take full advantage. But with these ones, they maybe overcorrected a little bit and gave them some great powers. So anyway, I'd love to hear what your thoughts are on all these. Again, all these characters by this point, you can mix them with some crazy combos to really bump them all up if you wanted to. But just in general, what they have to offer, I'm going to keep them where they are. I think this is pretty solid. From my point of view, pretty solid. I'd love to hear your perspective, so please like, please comment, please subscribe if you haven't yet. And the next video I'm doing after this is going to be Masters of the Force, which is the last set, which is crazy. So I'm kind of thinking of some things I want to do. I think after I finish these, there's actually a number of things. I'm going to post a video about my own collection, along with some 3D printed things I've done to kind of help my collection out. I've also been working on some things to build a tool to be able to help me more properly assign a cost to custom characters that I may want to make in the future, which is kind of fun. I'm trying to make sure that I don't do too much power creep. A lot of customs I see on Blue Milk or online, or a lot of customs people make, really cool and interesting, but oftentimes they're far, far away from the balance level from the original sets. Obviously, the original sets, they have their own power creep, but I'd like to try to keep closer to that, because I think there's something special about trying to not introduce too much power creep, even though there is a little bit. So I'm working on a little tool I'll show you later that does a decent job at being able to do stuff like that. And then on top of that, the last thing I want to do here soon is just doing individual character videos. Like, I'm going to do a character video on like the Anakins, what they're good for, why you'd want to use them, the situations, are they any good, are there some better than others. So for example, I'll probably do some about these bounty hunters, comparing all the IG-88s and what they have to offer. So I'm looking forward to that. It's going to be a fun set, and I'm still thinking of more ideas for other content things too. So anyways, appreciate your time, and I will see you next time.